off the ball. This is News Talk.
Well, then, the news everybody really expected. Erling Haaland to Man City confirmed. Man City closing in on a fourth Premier League title in 5 seasons. They have triggered the release clause of €60 million. Haaland will earn 350k per week sterling before bonuses, and he officially joins in July, the same month he turns 22 years of age. Sam Lee covers Manchester City for The Athletic. Hi, Sam.
Hello. Yeah, where did it all go wrong for Manchester City, eh?
And Erling Haaland. You're going to be seeing some goals next season. So a penny for Harry Kane's thoughts this evening.
Yeah, he won't be very happy, will he? But I don't know. I suppose you turn that inwards, or at least inside the family, and he never got that release clause put in his contract. You know, Grealish had one. That's why he's at City. Kane didn't have one, and that's why he's not. And yeah, if Kane wants to go anywhere now, it's most likely not going to be to a club that's going to offer him anywhere near what City could. So, yeah, I can't imagine he's too happy about it. But he's known for a long time that they won't come him back.
Haaland is a phenomenon. And you suspect, in part, maybe largely in part, due to his father, Alf Ing, he has really had a career carefully mapped out. Somewhere from, I don't know, whenever he turned from promising teenager into phenomenon. And we saw him go to Salzburg, and then in January of 2020, when he could have gone to bigger clubs, he chose Dortmund, did his 2.5 seasons there, further apprenticeship, 88 appearances, 85 goals, and this whole thing has been managed beautifully, you would have to say, thus far. He had options, and lots of them. Why do you think he picked City?
I think Guardiola, big reason during the talks. I think Guardiola would be a big reason anyway. You look at what they've won over the last few years. Barcelona, for example, I don't think Barcelona were in the picture, but kind of up and down. Real Madrid going very well at the minute. You know, they've won the league and they're there as well. They were the main competition. I don't know. I just think City, it's a great footballing project. You get paid a lot of money. Probably not as much as you could get at United, actually, in terms of the wages. I think they've got a lot of players on a lot of money, whereas maybe United have got a bit more of a mix, but they've got some players on like staggering money that's probably being wasted at United. So yeah, the sporting project's there. I think with Real Madrid, you know, City knew that he would like to go to Real Madrid at some point, maybe even now. I think, you know, there's a bit of a sliding doors moment there with them wanting to get Mbappe, and Benzema's got another year left on his contract. So there's part of it is, the Madrid door was partially closed, but at the same time, by all accounts, very keen to move to City. You know, he's hardly going kicking and screaming. And yeah, for Guardiola, the promise of trophies, the promise as well of playing good football. There's a lot of clubs you can go to and it not work out. I'm sure he'd back himself. I'm sure any player would back himself, especially going to Real Madrid. That you'll fit in and you'll score loads of goals and you'll thrive, but not always the case. I know at Man City there's a couple of examples maybe where it hasn't worked out as well as expected or as well as hoped, but they're normally the exceptions that prove the rule. The vast majority have gone there, and they've thrived under Guardiola, and I'm sure that was a big pull as well.
Yeah. If Kane had joined City last summer, another sliding doors moment, then one presumes they wouldn't have been in for Haaland this summer. Maybe they would have, but I doubt you're going to cast Kane aside after a season. So this has been a sliding doors moment.
Yeah, exactly. It really was. I've seen a few City fans, because last summer, when City were trying to sign Kane, there was a lot of City fans who weren't entirely happy about it. They'd rather say, would rather wait a year and get Haaland or get Haaland instead or whatever. And in the last few days, once it's become apparent that this is going to happen, I've seen City fans posting pictures of Harry Kane's brother, the agent, sat in his office, with the pictures behind him. He was kind of lampooned last year for not having that release clause in. Yeah. People saying thank you, Daniel Levy, this kind of thing. So yeah, you mentioned Kane at the start. Penny for his thoughts. City fans are happy for sure that they've got Haaland. I think Kane would have been great. I think Kane would have been a better fit initially, but obviously with Haaland, you probably get more years. I think Haaland's more exciting, or maybe it's because of the foreign import. Maybe it's just because his numbers are so staggering. He's such a striking physical specimen as well. I guess you've got the City link with his dad as well. But yeah, definitely a sliding doors moment there. But City have had a lot of that. You could feel you could put a great 11 together of players that City very nearly signed, but didn't quite come off. It would be it would ironically be a kind of Champions League winning 11.
And through your contacts at the club, Sam, was the sense at City that they were going to land Haaland from some way out?
Well, somebody reminded me earlier on a direct message on Twitter. He said, you told me on September the 25th that it was likely to happen. I looked back and I was like, I don't remember that. But there was a bit of talk earlier in the season, the end of September. So not long after the Kane thing fell through, that Haaland was the one. And I remember speaking to somebody who knew his dad, and he'd be quite keen on that. But I also know that at the end of this year and at the start of January, City, through their talks, were like, right, this is actually going to be a problem because he wants to go to Real Madrid. So what we're going to do is do everything we can to convince him to come to us. And obviously that's what's happened. So in terms of that confidence, I think it really grew throughout April, maybe before, because I think they had good talks at the start of February.
Right.
That gave them some confidence, but then it kind of went quiet for a bit. And then there were reports at the end of March, weren't there? But there was more talks at the start of April that really nailed it down, and then it kind of progressed to the point where the news of this all coming out is no surprise to a lot of journalists, I suppose, and maybe a lot of fans as well.
And did you say Guardiola was pretty heavily involved in the talks?
No, I wouldn't have said heavily involved him. Not personally. He has spoken to him, which I think is just part of the course. On the phone, I don't think managers are legally allowed to meet players, so he doesn't.
But you're allowed to talk on the phone?
I think, apparently so.
That's a hell of a rule.
Yeah, something I saw yesterday anyway, kind of at work. So, yeah, seemingly. Maybe don't take my word for that. But, in football, crazy things do happen and the rules are stupid, so maybe. But no, it's more he's big in the sense that, City say, come to us and you can play with Pep Guardiola for longer. So, obviously, Guardiola's contract runs out next season. So the expectation, therefore, is he'll sign a new contract. And that was part of, this come to Man City, we can guarantee you trophies, we can put you close to guarantee you trophies, close to guarantee you play great football, being a great team. And, you'll play with Guardiola. So, the reasonable expectation there from those talks is that, Guardiola will extend his contract as well. But personally involved, no, it was more of a cheeky Begirstein, the sporting director, who took a real lead role in it in convincing him. And Omar Barada as well, the chief football operations officer. They go everywhere together, and they were disappearing out of the office for 4 or 5 days at a time at a couple of points, and everyone was like, what are they up to? So they were putting in the hard yards on it.
Slightly long-winded question here, but just to almost throw some points I was reading about Haaland to you and to the listener as well. Reading various pieces which have gone to Norway and spoken to former coaches, it does seem
I've gone as well.
You've done that one as well.
Okay. Being published tomorrow, yeah.
Okay, well then apologies, you'll have heard all this firsthand. So it does seem as if Haaland was a freakish talent from a young age, but wasn't massive in stature, and scored a lot of his goals through very clever movement. It seems between the ages of 14 and a half and 16 and a half, he grew 25 centimetres and had been playing with boys older than him from a very young age. So, counterintuitive to the machine that we see now, this was not a young player who relied on his brute strength, and that came later. No. So he is an alliance of the brute strength and the movement and the smarts and the stealth was a phrase I saw one of the coaches use. And watching all of his goals, which is easily done on YouTube, there are the eye-catching ones where he, swats off a few defenders as if they are under 15s and he's a senior footballer. But really, the vast majority of his goals are tap-ins from between the posts, and they're often pullbacks from end line. Very Man City type. I think he's going to do okay here. They have potentially just signed someone who is going to score what will feel like countless forgettable easy goals.
Yeah, just tap-ins all over the place. Maybe City can put in a few more higher crosses from further out, a few more headers. But yeah, just absolute poacher, like you say. I spoke to 2 of his coaches and one of his former teammates. And in terms of, you say, you can see his goals now, the compilations, they were all saying stuff like, we've seen this already. We've seen this in training. He was doing this all the time. And I suppose the best way from his, because they all said the same thing about, so he was playing in the year an age group up, but obviously he was quite small and skinny. He was quite tall, but skinny. There's loads of pictures of him at the stadium, and you can really see in my article tomorrow. You see the kind of pictures that are on the wall, if you can read that. And you can tell it's him, but also if you didn't know, you'd be kind of like, he's familiar, this guy. I can't quite put my finger on it. But they say he played against guys who went on to play for like Norway's under-18s, their centre-backs. So they were big, strong guys, and he wasn't. And they were older, so everyone says he had to use that, the stealth. He was always in the right position to score goals. He seemed to have that kind of naturally. But he had to be quick, and he had to think fast to get between them. But as his former teammate said to me, he could get through on goal every time, despite the fact he didn't have this physical advantage. But now he's got this massive physical advantage over everyone. He gets through on goal more than every time. It's just this. Even if he'd never have had that growth spurt, he'd probably still be a top goal scorer.
Yeah.
Like in the way that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was, just as another Norwegian. Obviously, he worked with him at Molde. He was never massive, but he had those smarts inside the box. Well, but obviously, Haaland is now massive as well, like Lukaku.
It's really interesting you mentioned Solskjaer. He crossed my mind, oddly, watching Haaland in action, in that one of the points often made about Solskjaer was he would turn and get a shot on goal first time, often, a swivel on a sixpence type turn, but always hit the target. Haaland seems to have that ability as well, just to find the target and make these finishes look very simple in a kind of Solskjaer way. I don't know why he popped into my head as well this afternoon, but he did. And to be fair, he's not lightning quick, but generally if he's played in behind a defence, he has enough to keep them at bay.
Yeah, they said his dad wasn't I don't remember, I'm not old enough to remember it, Alfie Haaland in and out, but they said he wasn't the fastest acceleration, but once he was moving, he was quick enough. But I think Erling, he's certainly fast enough. Maybe not Mbappe, but for somebody that size, you do a lot of damage with the pace he's got, considering he's nearly 2 meters tall, and very, very strong. So certainly, like you say, keep defenders at bay. No problem at all about that. And with the movements and the smarts, it really is a formidable goal machine, really.
Anyone around City have any concerns he's a flat track Bundesliga bully, or does his Champions League record put any worries like that to bed?
You wouldn't have thought so, otherwise they wouldn't have gone to such lengths to convince him. I think people at the club were more convinced that he was a better fit than Kane, whereas I think Guardiola thought, okay, would quite like to work with Kane. But if you look at his stats, I pulled up the Opta big chance conversion, but I asked for penalties to be excluded.
Right.
And since he joined Dortmund, nobody in Europe has got a better big chance conversion than Haaland has without penalties. And, it's kind of miles above everyone else. That's Ronaldo over the last 5 years. It's Lewandowski over the last 5 years. It's everyone. There's a marked difference, even Salah, Mane. Obviously at City, there's an even a bigger gap to those guys. So, Bundesliga or not,
to
score that many, just like if he doesn't succeed in England, I can't imagine it's because he's had it easy up until now. He'll be whatever else, but I think with numbers like that, it's no fluke. Especially like you say, having been to Norway and seen and heard how he's done it all the way through, and he never had to rely on his strength, because in youth football you can rely on your strength, and then everyone catches you up, and you've lost your advantage. But he's gone the other way.
It's just frightening for the entire league. It really, it's absolutely frightening as City close in on a 4th Premier League title in 5 years. What did their Champions League exit tell you about this Man City team that you're covering and watching every week?
I don't think a lot. Being in Madrid, you kind of feel it. I know when there's a big, shocking, disappointing result like City's was, the temptation in the media is to be like, right, well, what's the big, shocking reason for it? Who's to blame? Who's messed up here? What's the underpinning reason for this? I don't know. We've seen the stats about Guardiola's teams conceding goals in bunches and stuff. And, when you see them written down in black and white like that, you'd have to say there's some kind of pattern. But in terms of what that defeat told me about this City team, they missed chances. In the first leg, they weren't defensively poor. They were just punished by Real Madrid. And then the second leg, did enough to control the game, but didn't kill it off. And then, Madrid's magic took over, really. There's some things like that, they become self-fulfilling prophecies. And I don't think that's just a City thing. You know, I don't think City bottled it. I don't think they lack leaders. You know, they could have handled the 50-odd seconds or 80-odd seconds in between the goals better. And it's true that by extra time, I thought they were done completely. Yeah. And, you know, that's how they looked. You know, they settled themselves quite well even in extra time. They brought in injury time. They brought the ball down and took it forward, but they you know, they lacked the edge. They'd gone really. But you know, that's Real Madrid. So what have I learned about them? Nothing new. It was reinforced that, you know, they can miss chances. You know, Cancelo can switch off when the ball goes in behind him, particularly when he plays right back. You know, but it's not too much. It's, you know, I'm more than happy to say I don't think it's a cop out journalistically, but these things happen in football, and Real Madrid can do that to anyone.
Patrice Evra disagrees with you. Interesting.
Yeah, but he's talking absolute rubbish. I didn't want to swear there. Absolute rubbish.
Here's what Evra has to say then. So, Manchester City need leaders, but Guardiola doesn't want leaders. This is straight out of the Zlatan textbook here, by the way.
Yeah, so, and that was rubbish.
Manchester City need leaders. Guardiola doesn't want leaders. He doesn't want personality. He's the leader, and they don't have anyone on the pitch to help them then. He chooses his teams like that. He can't train people with personality. He did it at Barcelona, but he builds his teams to control everyone, and then when things go wrong, he always decides. So Guardiola is this over.
So he did it. So he did it at Barca. So he did do it at Barca. And and how many strong characters from the German national team that won the World Cup did he have in Munich? 7 or 8. Arjen Robben, Frank Ribéry, Xabi Alonso a bit later on.
Yeah, didn't win a Champions League with them though.
Yeah, but that's not because of not having strong characters, then, is it?
No, in that instance, you would have to say
team that doesn't win
by his own admission.
It's not because he didn't have strong characters.
By his own admission in the Pep
If anything, they were too strong in the first season because he gave in to them and said, "We'll play your way."
Okay.
So,
but in the Pep Confidential book, he holds his hands up and said it was his own tactical failing against Ancelotti. So he did it.
But we're not talking about tactical failing.
No, I know. Yeah, but
about characters.
But if we're talking Guardiola on the whole here, there is something off in the Champions League. We can we you know
maybe there is.
With Madrid, you can I do accept your point really, because it was just, you know, it was one of those mad evenings and one of those crazy ties. But when it's across a body of work and you keep getting the same result, I think it is interesting to explore, is something off here?
Yeah, it's tempting. You would have thought with the teams at his disposal would have got there. You know, particularly because, you know, Bayern Munich hadn't won the Champions League for 20 odd years before they did. But then obviously they'd been to the final the year before that. They won it, and then he came. So you think there's an opportunity to build on that. Yeah, for sure. I mean, in terms of just to finish off that leaders thing, just nonsense, absolute nonsense. I actually asked him about it today, and he basically said the same thing. You know, I had a few guys that, you know, won World Cups and stuff. You know, it's just not true. And obviously that's to say nothing of City. You know, if they do win the 4 of the last 5 Premier League titles, nobody had defended the Premier League title.
No, it's true.
For 10 years.
It's true.
It's nonsense. It's nonsense. In terms of,
I mean, Guardiola was hardly,
there something wrong there?
Guardiola was hardly going to say, "Yeah, you got me." You know, like
no,
what else are you going to say?
Well, to be fair, some people have asked him before, is it true you only win trophies because you've got the best players in the world? He says yes. Yeah. He says it all the time. He goes out of his way to say it.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. And yeah, I'm trying to think.
Who's
Alex Ferguson, one of the greatest of all time. 10 years between finals, and then lost a couple to Pep. You know, should we expect Ferguson to have more than 2 Champions League trophies? Maybe. Mourinho. No, look, the thing is, it's almost like, oh, well, Mourinho's a busted flush now, so it doesn't count. But it's like, okay, why is he a busted flush? Guardiola's not. He's still there at the top. Mourinho is a fantastic coach, or was a fantastic coach. I had at one point the most expensive football team of all time in Real Madrid. Didn't win it with Real Madrid. It's Real Madrid. Yeah, there's when you look at a body of work, you say maybe there is something wrong here. But okay. Should they have won it last season against Chelsea in the final? They were the better team for sure. Yeah. They turned up. They were horrible. Guardiola made some weird decisions. I get that. You know, there'll be times when they've gone out of the Champions League because of his decisions. There'll be times when they've gone out because of bad luck. There'll be times they've gone out because of players' decisions. Yeah. But is that not football?
It is to an extent. I mean, I guess in Ferguson's case, to be fair, a lot of the 90s was building up towards Champions League, and then
same with Pep at Man City.
Really. To a point, yeah. He was unfortunate in that you come up against the greatest Barcelona team of all time, which did have a Pep Guardiola connection. I grant you. I'm sort of playing
he made them the greatest
advocate
all time the season before them.
Yeah, a touch, devil's advocate, a touch as well. But on the leader's point, who is the leader in this Man City team when things are falling down around them?
Well, Fernandinho, and they brought him on for the last 5 minutes, and people say you shouldn't have brought Fernandinho on. No, I'm not sure. Did Fernandinho's substitution coming on for Mahrez invite the trouble, or did it anticipate it? I don't know. I haven't got the answer for you. I think it's sensible that Real Madrid, Real Madrid are going to attack. They're going to put balls in the box. So you put on a guy who can deal with that. It seems sensible to me. But maybe if they'd have kept it as it was with Mahrez just on the break, Madrid wouldn't have come forward. I don't know. But yeah, who's the leader? So Fernandinho, you would say Diaz. But obviously Diaz didn't have a good game and gave away the penalty, in fact. In terms of Ederson kicking the ball away too quickly after the goal, which Guardiola said was, maybe that wasn't a great reaction. They took the kick off, went back to Ederson. He was booted it straight away. Why have you given them possession back straight away? Yeah. But we know Ederson is completely nervous. But we know. That clearance, well, not clearance off the line, but when he miscontrolled the ball against Liverpool, just in the Premier League the other week, just waited till it was on the line, passed it away. We know the guy's got no nerve. So if he was caught up in this, is he a bottler, or is this just incredible pressure in Real Madrid, or just a one-off mistake?
Yeah.
De Bruyne is a big character. I'm not saying that these guys have won as many World Cups and Champions Leagues as the guys that we've mentioned previously, or that you can imagine previously. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's why City haven't been able to do it. Yeah. But again, if you're gonna mention the 90s was United building, City have had to build. This year and last season was their second and third ever time in the semi-finals. That's building. I know they've got loads of money, and I know they've got loads of great players, and I know they've got Guardiola, who is amazing, and whether you want to say he is amazing or he's supposed to be amazing, I get it. But you've got to build, and they got to the final, and it seemed like they got to the final, and they were. They seemed overawed by it. But again, that's not, if you're building the team, that's normal. Maybe you say, oh, money can't buy you experience then, or money can't buy you cool heads. Okay, it can't.
Yeah.
But they are building, and we're not for the magic of Real Madrid. I would like to think they'll be in the second final in 2 years. So it goes back to what I was saying before. Not really learned much new. They're not bad. They're not bad.
No, they're not bad, that's for sure. Next season's going to be interesting, that's for sure. So Haaland will be there, and we'll be talking to you, I'm sure, across the season as he blasts in goal after goal. Sam Lee of The Athletic, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks very much. Pleasure as always.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, proud partner of the Women's National Football Team. Out believe together, and we can go anywhere.